Thank you very much. So this is a project I'm working on with Kelvin, and to be quite honest, one of the primary reasons I'm here is to learn about sustainability. So we use this term a lot in the D'Amore-McKim school. We use it in the university setting, but I'm still trying to figure out exactly what that means, and trying to figure out. And I've already learned a lot so far, but trying to figure out how we can incorporate that into what we're working on here. So this project got started because we were looking at stakeholders. We're interested in stakeholders beyond just stockholders. So there's obviously this growing trend for companies to pay attention to various stakeholders, whether it's the environment, the community that they operate in, customers, their employees. And more specifically, we are interested in what impact this has on their cost behavior or cost management. And not just cost, but what costs tell us is how firms are utilizing their resources or how they're adjusting their resources. So it's not just a boring accounting cost question, but more of a resource adjustment decision here. So cost behavior, how do various stakeholder orientations affect cost behavior? And we're primarily interested in, as I said, employees, customers, community, and the environment. There's other stakeholders out there, but these have been, especially in the management literature, noted as the primary stakeholders that management pays attention to, with actually most of the evidence pointing to employees as customers, employees and customers as the primary stakeholders, and then community and the environment as somewhat secondary in nature. So I want to explain something real quick, and this is asymmetric cost behavior or cost stickiness. You'll see in the accounting literature. It's kind of a new topic. It came about in the early 2000s, but it's this idea that as sales increase, costs increase. So if sales go up $1, then costs may go up 50 cents to provide for that increased sales demand. But what we find is that when sales decrease, costs don't decrease at the same rate. So if sales go down $1, costs might only fall 25 cents. And so there's been a few explanations for why this exists. The primary basic economic explanation is that as managers grow firms, and as firms grow, they increase capacity, they increase the resources devoted to the firms. But then when they have a down year or sales decline a little bit, they don't want to cut back on those resources, right? So there's a trade-off. They can cut back on those resources and then reinvest if the firm grows again, or just sit with stagnant resources for a while and wait for sales to increase. And so the overall trend is that costs are sticky in that firms tend to hold on to these stagnant resources. Now, what we're looking at is just a shift in this relationship. So if firms pay attention or greater attention to stakeholders such as employees, the environment, communities, how does that affect cost behavior? And our predictions are that it will increase this asymmetry by causing costs when sales go down to not drop nearly as much. So what do we find? We find that employee and customer orientations are positively associated with cost stickiness. We have a sample of public corporations, and we use some data developed or delivered by KLD database, and they basically measure all of these stakeholder orientations, and they do in-depth analysis by looking at strengths related to employee orientation and then concerns, and then we match the strengths against the concerns to put together this rating to see where firms lie within that rating. So as they are more focused on their employees, more focused on their customers, then they have greater cost stickiness. But interestingly, we don't find any evidence that firms that have a high orientation towards their community or the natural environment, it doesn't affect their cost behavior at all, at least in our study. So what are the implications of this? Well, We believe that not only does this extend the stakeholder orientation literature a little bit, but most importantly, we're able to look at these firms and not just ask the question of, well, are these firms more profitable, or are they, does the stock price increase when they are more focused on the environment, something of this nature. We're able to look at actual resource capacity adjustments, look at some idea inside the firm of the choices being made by managers when they have taken a position to value their employees or taken a position to value the environment. And we think that's interesting because most of the literature, at least that we've seen, is pretty focused on the financial outcome. Just are these firms going to be more profitable or not more profitable? And we think it's important to look at the kind of the management decisions as well. So that's all we have for this. Thank you.